All right, so the whole new tipping racket, I would love to know if this has happened to you. A good friend of mine, Gary, who happens to be an attorney, Gary says that he's had this happen in numerous places, and it involves a whole new level of tip shaming. The latest thing is employees are telling the customer, kind of quiet, like in a whisper, hey, if you tip in cash, it'll go to me. But if you use your credit card, it goes to corporate. How about...
Psst, pass it on.
Exactly.
Tippy.
So, hold on. The server says, like, low-key?
Server or in other places. Because these days, I mean, what is annoying as hell, and we've talked about this many times, the places where you never had to tip or a place where there was no expectation to tip. Now, with all these little, point-to-sale touch screens and everything, and they're getting ballsy. Instead of 10, 15, 20%, now they're like starting at 20, then 22, 25. I've seen 30%. Yeah, I hit other. 0! I am not going to be forced into guilt tipping. But now the latest is the employees are trying to say, hey, if you tip me in cash, I get to keep it. But if you use your credit card, the corporate folks are going to get the tip. I'd like to, has this happened to anyone listening? 800-990-1047. 800-990-1047. Have you experienced this where they're, pandering for a cash tip? If this has happened to you, I'd love to hear from you. 800-990-1047. Yeah, I've got actually some of the places where it happened. A pizza place, also a barbecue place.
All right. What's the issue here, though?
The issue is that
Are these places you would normally tip?
Some yes, some no.
I like to tip in cash.
I know a lot of people that do that. I know people that will put the meal on the credit card.
Yep. But if I have the cash on me, or I'll talk to my wife, hey, do we have a few bucks?
Yeah.
I'll leave the tip in cash. That's actually my preference.
Hey, or are you a server? Or are you in the service industry? And have you, look at the phones. Phone's already ringing. Have you dropped the hint for a cash tip instead of the tip being left on the credit card or the debit card?
And then they're taxed that way, too.
Well, there's more of a record if you cash in tip, man, or if you what I say, if you cash in tip, if you tip in cash,
there's no record.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like sticking it to Uncle Sam. That's why I try to give my servers cash tips.
Yeah. Why don't you say that? Yeah. You got an IRS office right on Boy Scout, right near the new
IRS office. Yeah. I tip in cash.
Right down from the new rooms to go.
Come and get me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. What? Buster was at Red Robin last week and he gave the guy a tip in cash?
No, I thought you were talking about you getting tips in cash or whatever. All right.
I wish I got a tip in cash.
Folks, I'd love to hear from you. Have you witnessed this? Or if you're a server, have you dropped the hint? If you're a server, have you just blatantly said to a customer, hey, if you tip in cash, it's better for me? I mean, that's kind of obnoxious.
It's the truth. I mean, if you're sharing information, hey, if you're going to leave a tip, give it in cash if I have a preference.
800-990-1047. That's 800-990-1047. All right, Andrew's screening calls right now. I'll go to calls in just a second. Hey, I want to just, while we're waiting for call, you know what? Let me grab calls now. But I have something else I want to bring up. Yes, Rox.
Can I just say, it's kind of like the server is saying, and I'm not hating the game, believe me, but it's kind of like, hey, did you like me? Great. But let's stick it to this corporate monster that's preparing your food, right?
Hell yeah. Screw the man.
Patty in Spring Hill. Patty, you're on the MJ Morning Show on Q105. Hi, Patty.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
We are fantastic. All right, has this happened to you?
Yes, actually. Actually, I went into a small post office on Shady Hills Road, and there was a tip jar on the counter.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Was this an official U.S. Postal Service office, or is this one of those like contract little
Nope.
substations?
Nope. It's literally a U.S. post office.
And there's a tip jar at the U.S. Post Office on what road in Spring Hill?
Shady Hills.
That's pretty shady operation with a tip.
Exactly.
Wow.
I could not believe it. I went in and I'm like, is that really a tip jar? And you guys had been talking about it a few days prior to that. And then I didn't call in then. And when you started talking today, I'm like, I just have to call.
So did you leave a tip?
No.
There you go.
That is crazy. Patty, thanks for
Yeah.
the call.
You're welcome.
You bet. Jeff is in Tampa. Jeff, hi. You're on the MJ Morning Show.
Morning, everybody.
Hello.
Morning.
Good. I usually tell the waitress, I say, hey, you want to make some tips? Don't charge the drink.
Oh, so you want the server to pilfer from the company,
Yes.
don't charge for the drinks, and you'll leave a cash tip?
Yep. And I say, you want some tips? Don't charge for the
And how often are you successful with this little operation?
I'm pretty darn good.
You know what?
That's just rubbing off on me.
Yeah, first of all,
Fester's rubbing off on you.
MJ, there are restaurants that I stopped going to because the price of their drinks just got too high. I'm not a drinker.
Yeah, I mean,
But if-
for a family of four, you're at $25 just for
Yeah,
drinks.
I went to a restaurant. Iced tea was like $3.99 or
Yeah.
$4.99, and I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know what? All right. And then it's like $16-20 just in
Yeah.
service drinks,
Yeah,
not alcohol.
I have noticed, that non-alcoholic beverages, I've noticed that drink prices are going up. And listen, a restaurant gives you a fountain Coke or Pepsi, and it's $2.99 or $3.25 on the menu. They got a nickel into that thing, maybe. It's the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's just an amazing markup. Jeff, thanks for the call. Crystal is in Zephyr Hills. Crystal, hi, you're on the MJ Morning Show.
Good morning.
Do you have a similar tip story?
I do. My daughter, she's actually a waitress in Tampa, and she has mentioned to me numerous times that waitresses will actually take off a big item off of the bill just so, and they don't necessarily say, give me a bigger tip, but it's kind of known if they take a big price item off of the bill that they're going to get that in a tip.
Oh, or I comped you dessert. I think that might be a tactic as
Yeah.
well. Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I dinner or dessert's on me. It's on the house.
Exactly.
Yeah, bucking for a better tip.
So what? Are we angry at this? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not necessarily angry, but I mean, it is something that's going on now.
Well,
I mean,
listen.
I just can't figure out MJ's angle.
Well,
on it.
hold on. We've drifted a little bit from the original story. The original story was that there is an increase in employees that are bucking for a tip where they ask for the tip in cash. That's where the story originally started. That there seems to
Yeah.
be a trend where people at places of business or servers are saying, hey, if you leave the tip in cash, I get it. If you put it on the card, it goes to corporate. That apparently is happening more and more. So the story's morphed a little bit. But, Crystal,
Yeah.
thanks for the call. Have a great day. Let me grab Jackson in Clearwater. Jackson, MJ Morning Show, you're up. Hi.
Hey, how are you doing, guys?
Going well.
So I just got back from a family trip in Argentina. We went to Buenos Aires, and it's similar there. If you want to order like an Uber, and if you select paying in cash, they're there in like 3 minutes. If you select, using your credit card, they'll cancel the trip like 4 or 5 times in a row until you finally get someone.
Oh, wow.
So it's the same thing at restaurants, like everywhere, whether it's restaurants, supermarkets, wherever you go, everything in cash is one price. Everything credit card is up, 15, 20% because they don't want to pay the service charges.
Interesting. Thank you. Appreciate the call, Jackson. One more on this, and we got to move on. Reese is in Panama City, up in the Panhandle. Hey, Reese, you're on the MJ Morning Show. Hi.
Hey, yeah, it's totally true. And even certain Waffle Houses, if you tip on your debit or credit card, they don't give them the whole tip. They charge them like 10%.
Like a processing fee or something?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
instead of like, if you're leaving her like I tip high. So
Well, because listen, technically, when you do leave a tip on the credit card, that tip amount is still subject to the charge from the credit card to the establishment, the credit card fee. And listen, I'll tell you what's happening a lot when I try. I haven't seen it. Maybe people have noticed this, but hey, guess what? Here's another breaking item. And this is happening in New York a lot, and I've seen it elsewhere. I don't think I've seen it much yet in the Tampa Bay area, but places are adding a credit card fee to your bill. Listen, over Christmas time.
they do that here.
Over Christmas time, I bought a book. I was out in Vail, and there was a book I wanted, and I went to Edwards, this little book shop in Edwards out in Colorado, and I get the receipt. I look at the receipt, and there's like a credit card. In a regular retail bookstore, they charged me 5% to use my credit card.
Okay, who cares? Why are we not bitching about gas stations? We have two prices, the cash price and then the debit or credit card price.
Listen, that always bothers me. That's why, guess what? That's why I avoid gas stations.
And you siphon it out of the ground.
Listen, no.
You siphon it out of other tanks in the parking lot.
No, listen, that's why I go to gas stations that don't have a cash and credit differentiation. I avoid any gas station that has the cash price and the credit price. I don't go to that gas station. And there are plenty of stations, same price, cash or credit. And those are the gas stations that I patronize. Reese, thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Reese.
So heads up. And then, locally, I have not seen it around town. But, again, up north, it's starting to become rampant. And other places around the country where places are charging you a fee to use your credit card. Hey, that's cost of doing business. If you want to fool us, then just raise your prices by 3 or 4%. Typically, depending on the size of the establishment and the credit card deal they have, like Visa and MasterCard, I think the charge is, from 1.5% to 2.5% on average for what Visa and MasterCard charge the business for people to use their credit card. And American Express is typically a little more, I think maybe 3 to 4%, I guess depending on your volume.